Welcome back to another Bow Disciples video. In today's video, I'm going to kick off the first ever Q&A I'm going to do on this channel. All these questions came from either Instagram or Facebook. And then leave a comment or a question under this video, and I'll get to it in a future Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started with a couple questions from Instagram. The first question is, do you hang meat? Do you hang the meat? How? If you have the time, everyone should butcher their own meat. So do I butcher my own meat? Yes, pretty much always do. You know, packaging, everything all on my own, grinding. I've always done it on my own. The only instance that I won't is if I'm on the road and I have to go straight from one hunt to another, or timing just doesn't permit. Sometimes that's the case on like month-long hunts where I'm doing different hunts. Sometimes I just don't have time to do it. But if it's a local deer and I'm home or I have any chance to do it, I always process meat myself. A lot of times I'll quarter stuff up, get it frozen somewhere, and then process it when I get home. So that's kind of how I deal with it. Do I hang meat? Typically, no. I don't. Next question. GPS coordinates to all 100-inch plus bucks that you have shot in SD. Where would you do your first elk hunt? Okay, so this question is fairly common. Elk is like the main animal people want to, like the cool animal people want to hunt, I feel like. I think that is the case largely because of certain people on social media that always are posting about elk. I think it's like the coolest animal to go after. And elk are cool. You know, I've harvested 3 elk. I don't get to hunt them a whole lot because I'm in California, where it's very, very difficult to draw a tag. And obviously being a non-resident in other states, it's hard to get drawn as well. So for me, my favorite state to hunt elk is Arizona. In fact, that's the only state where I've harvested elk. I've hunted elk as well in Montana. Was not successful. That was a very tough hunt. That was over-the-counter tags. So that's always an option. Colorado has over-the-counter tags. Oregon has over-the-counter tags. I think Washington might. So there's certain options on over-the-counter hunts. Just be sure if you're going to do one of those, you research and make sure that the numbers are actually decent. But the best way to do it is start getting points in the top tier elk states, which to me is Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. You know, if you're a California resident, put in California, start getting points. You know, don't hold your breath. But yeah, if I had to say, I would say start putting in Arizona and New Mexico. Do you buy any scent blocking stuff for stalking animals? This is a good question. So yes, I do use all sorts of scent products. I use scent-free detergent, scent-free deodorant, some sprays. But the main thing is wind. If your wind's not right, all that stuff doesn't matter. The only reason I use that stuff is so if I'm doing everything right and I'm right in there and the wind happens to swirl a little bit, like maybe it'll save me. And it probably won't, to be honest. The wind has to be perfect. That's first and foremost. Okay, next up. Tips for dealing with deer that only move at night. Okay, so for this one, the answer is simple. Trail cameras. You gotta run cameras. You gotta watch those bucks because odds are good when they'll stop moving at night is either going to be in the rut or maybe right after the rut. So you gotta run cameras, and as soon as you start seeing them in daylight hours, whether it be early morning, last light, or sometimes even midday, you gotta, as soon as you see that, you should be sitting every single day in your blind and hope that you could connect. But that's a tough situation, but cameras is going to be your answer. Do you hunt public land in D16? So yes, I do. I hunt kind of a mix of private and public. I've always wanted to just hunt the best land that I can. I'm not one of these guys who's like super hung up on like, oh, I'm public land only. When I'm out of state, I only hunt public land because I don't have any connections. When I'm here in my home state, I'm going to take advantage of whatever resources that I have. If that means hunting private, I'm going to do it. But yeah, I hunt a mix. Do you ever hunt Mount Laguna? Not really. How often should I shoot my bow to be confident in a kill shot? Now, that one is interesting because that could be different for everybody. If you're a new archer, you just started shooting a bow, you should be shooting every single day, working on groups and dialing in your setup so that way you feel like mechanical and your muscle memory is textbook by the time you're in the field. You're going to have so much buck fever running through you, when you're new that the main thing that's going to keep you solid is muscle memory. So you need to be practicing like every day. When you're someone like myself who's been bow hunting for whatever 23 years, you know, the muscle memory for me is everything's so mechanical. The muscle memory is there. I don't need to practice quite as much. I still do. I mean, of course, but you know, once you get more experience and you're solid, like at this point for me, it's I just kind of shoot if I'm prepping for a contest or prepping for a hunt to stay fresh. Um, you know, but at the end of the day, I want to save my shoulders. So basically, you need to shoot a lot. When you're new, you have to, sorry, my answer was crazy, but you need to shoot a lot, get dialed. Muscle memory is super important. Work on that, get that dialed, and then 10, 15 years from now, you can shoot a little bit less. What do you think about all of this FOC arrow building talk? So that means front of center. And I did actually convert to adding some weights towards the front of my arrows about a year ago. Shout out to the Bow and Arrow Shop for that recommendation. So I think I run like 30 grains maybe, as well as my 100 grain tip. So you could just run a 125 grain tip. I kind of wish I would have gone that way, but I'm already committed and I have a bunch of 100 grain broadheads and tips. So yeah, I like it. I like it for accuracy. I do find my groups shrunk. I mean, I already had some pretty solid groups, but I felt like they shrunk, you know, a little bit once I made that transition. And also the most important thing with having your FOC, you know, forward on the arrow and having that weight out front is I find it hits harder, which when I'm hunting is important to me. So I like it. What don't you use from the animal, and or what's something you would use that most people wouldn't? Okay, so what don't I use from the animal? I obviously want to use as much as I possibly can, you know, but I'm not one of these people that uses everything, to be honest with you. The things I don't use would be bones, hide in most cases, unless I'm going to mount the animal, and intestines. Other than that, pretty much everything gets used. Things I use that maybe not everybody would. I always take heart, liver, and tenderloins, which are inside the cavity. You know, I'm not a big fan of heart and liver, but there always is someone who is, so I'll just usually give that meat to them. How many times a day do you rattle post rut? So rattling is one of those things that's really case to case, I feel. I might rattle every 30 minutes, and if I'm not getting any response, or any deer coming in to check me out, maybe I'll go to once an hour, and then if it's just nothing's happening, then you know, I may not rattle at all or very seldom. Next up, if I'm looking to get into archery, recommendations on types of bows. If you're going to hunt, I would say a compound bow. I don't think you need to go spend a ton of money on like a top of the line flagship from like a big brand. I think you can go on Craigslist, find a bow that's a handful of years old. My bow's a 2013, outshoots most people, to be honest. The bow ain't going to make you a good shooter, practice is. So go on Craigslist, get a bow, or go to a bow shop. And they sell like complete kits. Like Bear sells some pretty good ones. I think Diamond sells some good ones. But you don't need to break the bank. Just get a bow that's affordable. Learn how to shoot. Make sure you like it. And I promise you're not going to outshoot the bow for at least your first 5 years in the sport. So get a bow and just learn how to shoot. That's going to be most important. Is there different types of arrows for different types of game or distances on your shot? I don't personally change my arrow based on what I'm doing, whether it's a contest or hunting, like hunting a turkey or an elk. I don't switch. I run a fairly heavy arrow with, you know, the weight out front, and that's it. I don't really mess around with it too much. That's just, yeah. Some people might, I don't. How much planning goes into a hunt, and how much does it change while on the hunt, if at all? Okay, so a lot of planning goes into a hunt. For me, you know, I've been hunting a long time, so some hunts that I've done every year for an extended period of time. So those ones I have a checklist, and I'll print it out and go through, pack up all my stuff. And I kind of, you know, usually will have a game plan when I go somewhere, and then things could always change. I mean, if it's a wetter year, then my plan's going to shift. If it's a drier year, my plan will switch. If a cold front comes in, like things change every day with hunting. That's what makes it so difficult. And yeah, so my plan is always changing. Oh, and if I'm going to a state I've never been, then it's a lot of kind of online research, figuring out what areas of where I can hunt, which areas are good, where I've gotten some recommendations, and so on and so forth. But there's always a ton of planning that goes into a successful hunt. These ones were all via Instagram story. If you guys don't follow me, be sure to go follow me at James Visser. I do these polls and questions frequently, and I'm going to do more Q&As for sure. So follow along if you do not already. When is the best part of the season to hunt in your opinion? So if I'm in D16, November has always been my best month. If I'm hunting out of state, my favorite has always been hunting mule deer in September. I love hunting those bucks and those bachelor groups with the velvet antlers. Just beautiful and so much fun. And to me, I think it's like one of the hardest animals to hunt. So I love that challenge. And September's just, I wish September was every month. Blind or spot and stock in D16. So for me, almost all my success has been out of a blind or a tree stand in D16. Then when I'm out of state, spot and stock. Spot and stock's my favorite, but I always say I'll do what it takes to be successful. And in San Diego County, I just think a blind works better. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to this Q&A. I hope some good questions got answered that you guys wanted to know. And like I said, I enjoy doing the Q&As. I think they're a lot of fun. It's a good way to engage with the people who watch these videos or follow me on Instagram or whatever. So thank you guys so much for all the questions, and I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please leave a comment in the comment section with a question you'd like to have answered in a future Q&A. And yeah, throw a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.